Hey everybody, this is Petey from the Spin Rack. We also have
Calvin Ellis, ready to rock.
today. I don't want to put up any site because I cannot confirm. They say there's a leak. They've been a leak on some bad sites, but they've
Oh, that must mean it's cosmic news.
you shut up. You shut up. But the idea is that the actual story, what we've been seeing in the trailers, might be a flashback and piecing back together, a la The Watchmen, a la what's that thing? The Usual Suspects. Any kind of detective drama where you find someone that we lose somebody, and the idea is we might lose Hal Jordan in the first episode, and he's going to start appearing as in flashbacks. So we'll get the character just like the comedian, but at the same time, we actually have lost the character. So we have to talk about it because it's out there. But what do you say to that?
Well, if this is true, it looks like they're trying to continue the success they've had with Supergirl.
Oh my God, this is um
I mean, look, at the risk of sounding like a skipping record, I have said this and I stand by it. Hal Jordan is the greatest Green Lantern, full stop. All the major stories involve Hal Jordan. All of the important instances within the Green Lantern Corps involve Hal Jordan. Actually, I'm being polite when I say involve Hal Jordan. Hal Jordan is the focus. That's the story of the Green Lanterns, and we've had other people there. Hal Jordan is not the original Green Lantern. That's Alan Scott. We
yes.
don't have anything like that with Alan Scott. Kyle Rayner was Green Lantern for 10 years unobstructed. He was the only guy. We don't have anything like that with Kyle Rayner. The biggest instance we have with Kyle Rayner is the girl in the refrigerator. Okay, we don't have any of these particular stories. We don't have this with John Stewart. We don't have this with any of the new ones whose names are escaping me, unfortunately. So now, if Hal Jordan gets taken out in the first episode, that's a bad move. I already thought it was a bad move making him as old as it was, but hey, old as he is, but okay, as he's being shown to be in the series. But then you take him out. I'm like, do you remember Heat?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hal's emergency action team. There are people who have a lot of love for this character, and if you just bump him off in the first episode, the same way you did when you had Trinity in the what was it, the Acolyte, you did everybody with this bait and switch. You're setting people up to have a bad taste in their mouth early on, and then they're going to take action, and the action will be to mess up the series. So I hope that's not the case. I hope they're smarter than that, but we'll see.
Well, I'll say something to that point that you're making, which is a strong point. The idea is that when people went to see, even though Psycho was a movie that was already, it was already a novel, the idea, some of the things that were done in Psycho was having the star actress and Janet Leigh, basically all of the things that were done in movies were done with a twist to it. So it's about Janet Leigh. She takes some money. She's afraid of getting caught. She runs out of town, and we see the title Psycho, and we know Janet Leigh is like the star, and we see Psycho, and we see her stealing. So we're like, oh, this is about her being psycho, and she goes to this hotel and sees this nice guy that could possibly be a suitor, but he has a mean mother, and we don't know that this whole thing is going to switch, and the thing switches into the mother clearly being the psycho, and us losing the main actress in the first 2 seconds. Oh, not no, in actually halfway through the movie. So we the movie goes are like, wait a second, we've been following Janet Leigh, she's a star, and they took her out. So then you fast forward to Scream. Who's that? Drew Barrymore saying we should do a hint of that. I'm in it, you promote it with me, but I get taken out in the first 5 minutes. So it's like, but it's not the same. But at the same time, we had that kind of buzz. Now everyone's like, yeah, let's do the Scream thing. Let's take them out in 5 minutes. Like, no, this is not the area where you decide to do that. They said, well, what about like Kaiser Soze, like everyone's dead, and they're like, no, 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 you can't keep with characters you don't know, and as you're building them, that's the thing of Watchmen. You don't you kill the comedian, but Alan Moore is also building his character as he goes along because we don't know any of the characters, we don't know the story, and as a reader, when I was what was I 16 and reading the first issue and then read the whole thing until a while later, it's just kind of thrown into a story, which is a detective thing, right? So the thing is, you can't necessarily, you shouldn't do this with that. So, but at the same time, people in the Gold Legacy, the idea that Albin Sur passed it on to Hal. Now we're doing the same thing, and we'll keep every time he picks up a flower, he's going to remember Hal doing something where Hal was cutting down a garden, like some little cutaway that relates to the flashback type of thing. So, but at the same time, I'm going to lie to myself because I know it's not going to become as big as I would want it to be. Also saying that, because I was looking through villains I would want to see in the DC thing, and supposedly it's supposed to have the Manhunters. Now, I found when they were doing Millennium, not necessarily a Millennium miniseries, because I don't think it was done. It was keeping in line with the amount of characters like Crisis, but I think the individual stories worked out better than that. But the idea that having the Manhunters being Manchurian candidates and people that they knew was a fun thing that they were doing. So you have these guys, you have the Manhunters, but I don't think that's a sell because they're not going to give us. They showed us they're not giving us the Manhunters every 2 seconds. They're not going to turn around, and if they give us the Manhunters, they will actually just be Manchurian candidates. They're not going to put on the outfits. They're not going to get the metal faces, and it's like, so that's not giving us it. But I think the Manhunters could have been something for your CW, where other people pop up as that sort of thing. So I think if you kind of do this thing and we find out the Manhunters in the last 5 minutes with a whole bunch of exposition, that's not the answer. Giving us the Manhunters, and hinted their history with OA and that sort of stuff. But in teasing this thing and getting people upset, it seems like all they're doing right now is getting people upset with the Green Lantern storyline, and possibly because the movie, the Green Lantern movie, didn't do well. Now we can say, well, we kill him. We give us this new young actor that's big and he's dating Tiana Taylor, or maybe he's not dating her now. So he's like got a lot of buzz to him. So go this way, and the kids like.
It wasn't the
Huh?
it was a story.
Mm-hmm. So,
They act like it wasn't the property, it was the story. Anybody can be a Green Lantern once you get the ring. It wasn't the character.
yeah. So it's a thing of them deciding they want to work with. If that's the case, they don't have to do this wayward John Stewart origin, where the origin was fairly simple, and it came into the interpersonal dynamics between Hal and John Stewart. Of Guy Gardner being hurt, so they need a new substitute. So he's trying to get John Stewart up to speed. But John Stewart just had his own flair, and it took some time for Hal to get used to. But he saw his heart was in the right place by the end of the story. So it was a simple, fun sort of story, and then he became sort of a mainstay in the DC universe. Excuse my French for saying that, but to do this, to add tension, to add the Marvel tension, is even that's the thing. Danny O'Neill and Neil Adams didn't even go as far as the Marvel type tension, because the Marvel tension, it turns into you choking each other out. Then you see the villain on the side and say, "Oh, we should be fighting that person," or so. But having, but they might have wasted all their budget on other stuff, so we can't get the Manhunters in a solid way. So. But say the original idea of them, if they do decide to, if they allowed it to leak, which is ridiculous, or maybe they can do a Spock only death and then have him die at the end, which neither would be good for this character. It's just not really a good way to go. I mean, just give us the characters and have Hal go off into space. You want to do dealing with something on the other side of the galaxy rather than, hey, I'm the best man now. Hal couldn't do it, but I could. He's gonna be walking around like Steph Curry. Give me my ring. Give me, give me my ring. But yeah, that's all I got for this. Any other things you want to say about this?
Well, I don't think this is true. The title says lanterns,
Hmm.
so it doesn't make any sense if we're just gonna have one. This is plural. But they've done dumb stuff like that before. It would be a ridiculous bait and switch. But but then you still have the people in the front saying, "Oh yeah, well we called it lanterns because Green Lantern is stupid." And like that, no mistake. You should not be on this show if that's how you feel about the property. Mistake. We already went through that whole thing. Go say that in a room full of green berets. Green berets is stupid. We're gonna call it berets. No. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it. I wish I had more confidence in their decision making. I don't. And they have shown on a regular basis that they can take a very simple, straightforward concept that has worked for decades and decide that they need to somehow fix something that is not broken. And then when they make a mess of it, they'll always retreat back to this was stupid anyway, bunch of kids stuff. The comic books are dumb. There's no way you can bring this stuff up over here. Blah blah blah. So uh, I don't think this will be the case. I just wish I had more confidence in saying that.
Well, I'll also add, I think post JLA kind of felt like with a lot of Grant Morrison's pitches, he was giving you stuff the same similar way that Marvel was trying to give them stuff, but the Marvel people cast like Nick Fury, but in his idea of trying to do him doing Green Lantern as basically like a cop in space. Like you got your framework there. Or if you, I think when he did that, he did a different Adam, but he was like a grad student, but he was like had connection to some mystery or whatever happened to Ray Palmer. So this new brand, I think he appeared in the Justice League movie, but like he's giving you these things which he's patterning it like almost for you to pick up, and they're like, nah, because we can't go to the regular stuff and figure out stuff to do with these characters. Then you have Grant Morrison who's kind of saying, "Hey, here's something that you guys can play with. It's kind of in your wheelhouse," which is kind of sort of a simple Hollywood pitch to some of these things. And they're still like, "Nah, we're not doing that. I'm David Lindelof. I just came off Watchmen. I did Lost, and I do whatever I want with this thing." And it's like, it's falling to the wayside where it feels like all the money in this case. I don't know when they're going to start running out of money. They seem like they had a lot, but then as these projects go and we have no, we have him and we have Hal in regular clothes, and they're trying to stay away from the green color around him, so you just see him flying around and whatnot, which is fine to have him flying around, but you know, don't be. He said it. You can't get past it because that's how he feels. So how do you just come to a podcast and say the green is stupid? You Anyway, all right. So we're back in hell with the DC universe. Spinner rack.
We're out.
We're out.